Hi, welcome to Salt and Honey. We are a show about art and storytelling. I'm Leslie and this is Sloane.
Hello.
Today we're just discussing a couple of mini comics that Sloane picked out. Do you want to introduce them or should we just go right into it?
Yeah, I can introduce them and then we can hit them one at a time. I think we have four mini comics. I don't know why I just suddenly got like an itch to read mini comics. I think it was like someone retweeted one into my tweet stream. And then I was like, oh, I should just look through all of Itch.io and all of Gumroad and see what is out there. So we're gonna talk about
Did you manage to get through all of it? Go through
Yeah.
all of it.
And then I was like, okay, and I'm just like dragging every single one.
You're like, I found 4.
Yeah, I bought like maybe 15 different mini comics.
Okay.
And I mean, they're so usually people put them up for like pay what you want, so they're really not expensive. I try and do like between $1 to $5, but yeah. So we're gonna cover Slugcore by Nate Tazwell, Transparency by actually, where's the cover for this one? Seb. I don't know their last name. I need to double check that. Oh, by Opal Pence. And we're gonna do Dreamy Chain by Kay Theo Stultz and Bravo by One by Casey Novick. So maybe we can start with Slugcore. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah, Slugcore is by Nate Tazwell, Tazwell. He is an artist I'm not familiar with, but his mini comic just got retweeted like by someone into my path basically. And yeah, he's in the New York area. He's a VFX compositor and illustrator. Cool. And yeah, we were both like super into Slugcore.
This comic really scared me. Made me feel feelings I hadn't felt in a very long time. I was like, I don't understand.
Yeah, it's really
not
crazy.
In a bad way.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you want to try and give like a tiny summary? It's only like, what is this, like 23 pages long, this mini comic. So just like a standard like comic issue, but I feel like it's kind of jam-packed with a lot of world building. And the art is really unique.
It's like kind of like the actual comic doesn't really cover that much, but like I feel like within the dialogue, like kind of the back and forth between various characters, you get a sense of kind of like what the world is about. I think, is it just like the main character is like trying to go through this certain like gate and then like they have like these like parasite alien people with them. And I think that's what is going on, right?
Yeah, and they're like
trying to like get through and they have to like pay a toll or something.
Yeah, and they're trying to get this character, I think, called the Spine, I believe.
Yeah.
It was kind of confusing, but also like I didn't really care because I just found these characters really interesting looking. I don't think I can pinpoint exactly like where Nate's like visual inspiration comes from. Like obviously a lot of manga and stuff, but it has a very unique flavor to it.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like it's definitely just of its own ilk. Like this is not, I can't like look at it and say like, oh yeah, this person really likes like X artist or Y artist. Like
yeah, like I think I can kind of tell that there are various influences, but I can't like as you said, I can't exactly pinpoint what they are. I do think that's cool. It is a little bit confusing, but I feel like that kind of is the point.
Yeah. So this main character who I think is like a human or at least
a humanoid
type. She like gives this monster her blood for like a debt, and then she kind of like Super Saiyans
paying
out
off a debt of like someone else, right?
Yeah. I think also like there's a lot of like I think this is taking place inside of like a giant like a body or something as well. like there was like talk about biotics and the spine and the vertebrae are like characters.
Yeah, I think I kind of got that, and I was like, I wonder what's happening. I
Yeah,
wonder
it's
like
very
what is
cool.
more to this. It kind of reminds me of like when I was a kid and I would read like a comic that was like a little bit out of my uh I don't know, my area of comprehension. Like it was like a little bit like just beyond that.
Yeah.
Like it was definitely intriguing, but I also couldn't say that I totally understood what's going on, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Like I don't understand it and I kind of like it that way. Like
You're like, I like that I don't get it.
yeah, I don't want this artist to
I
explain it to me.
yeah, I respect that. I feel like it comes from a very like earnest, passionate place.
Yeah, totally. Um yeah, and I think these monster designs are kind of like my favorite. They're almost like these like like homunculuses are like
Oh
these
yeah.
super exaggerated bodies to kind of like illustrate like what our senses are strongest. And so that's kind
Yeah.
of what these monsters look like. They're very frightening.
They're kind of like they're almost kind of like Muppety, but they're also kind of like these weird like goopy things. Like some of them are like kind of weirdly cute because they have like teeth and like
Yeah.
eyes, but other than that, they're not really. It's hard to tell like what is going on and what they are.
Yeah, totally.
Love it.
Yeah, I really like this short comic and I'm excited to see what else Nate does. Um yeah, it also just made me really want to several artists I feel like this past year that have made me like just want to do whatever sounds fun is like the Evangelion, Thrice Upon a Time, this I feel like I read a third thing that I can't remember, but I was just like, you know what, it's totally fine if I just go off on my own weird tangents and just follow whatever I think is cool. Like people will just be on board. um I think I
You're
feel like
with
I
me or
worry
you're
some.
against me.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I worry about what is parsable or not sometimes, and that can really like, I don't know.
I think I think that's an interesting point because I do think that there is a certain level of like, you should like I don't think it's a bad thing to want to make comics that other people can understand, like on a very basic level. But at the same time, it's like sometimes, you want to bring them along for your ride and it may not make sense to them. And
Yeah.
they might still like it. So it's not necessarily a bad thing either.
Yeah, totally.
That's how I feel about like clamp comics. I've been reading some like old ones again and I'm like, this makes no sense to me, but like,
Yeah.
I dig it. I buy this.
Mhm. Yeah,
Can buy into like the stylization of certain things and like the lack of explanation.
yeah, and I'm like, and the more someone is into like their own thing, it's also like very
Yeah, you can tell
charismatic in a way. Like I'm like, oh, they just like love this, and now I'm getting drawn into their passion for this weird thing.
Yeah, that I don't quite get it, but I enjoy it nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's Slugcore. We really is it Slugcore or no? Is it Sluggore? Oh no, Slugcore. I was like worried for a second. Yeah. So yeah, you should definitely check this out. I'll pop a link in the description. So
yeah, if you're interested in like sci-fi, body horror, weird aliens, then yeah, it's a cool little comic.
Yeah.
Little taste.
Yes. Yeah, so let's go to our next comic. Yeah, so this is drawn by Seb, Transparency. It is a 45 page comic. And it is about kind of like internet nostalgia and like changing forms and also changing like personas and fursonas, which I think is really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a history with like personas. You kind of have like your bunny.
I do, but like the thing is that when I was like when I was a teen, I really wanted a persona because everyone had a persona, but I just didn't have one.
I see.
I didn't have like the persona in my heart, so like I always was trying to like maybe make one, but like it was a very surface thing. Like I wasn't I wasn't fully committed to it.
Right.
So if that makes sense.
Yeah, you weren't trying to like manifest like your soul into like the perfect furry representation.
I just couldn't. Yeah, I think it just, it didn't, that sort of thing didn't resonate with me, and I really wish it did, but it just didn't.
Yeah.
Wanted to, but yeah.
I feel that. Yeah, I definitely came up with like persona loving people. Like the Okaki I was on was run by this person who did like really sophisticated like Pokemon fan art, and they had a very huge following. And they would draw their
I'm pretty sure that almost everyone that I followed on DeviantArt at the time was like doing furry art, and I think that probably sounds weirder than it actually is. It was just like, it's like so common. Like it was like a style almost instead of like the actual like subject matter.
Right.
So it was like a very big thing, very ubiquitous.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Sebastian says in the description of this comic, it's a visual poem and comic that addresses what having an anthropomorphic animal avatar has done for them, an ode to their dragon persona, which is very fun. So I think first off,
I love how deep comic goes. How deep this comic goes.
It really does go very deep.
The poem itself it just goes like so deep, and like it's like kind of like playful but also kind of serious. Like I feel like it oscillates between the two, and like it's talking about something that is both serious and also kind of funny and like cute.
Yes, lots of like transitional and liminal spaces in the body and mind, but also couched in this like really cute imagery of like this wolf person and how they're shapeshifting kind of into like their inner draconic self. And it's kind of just like a meditation on like who they want to be, who they can be, how they're perceived. Yeah, I was also just like super in love with like when I saw the preview images of this, it's drawn in like black and blue like pencil or graphite maybe or charcoal. And I just found that like so like appealing and unique. Like I don't usually see those two colors together in comics or even in illustration. They're not like, I feel like a common palette that people go for, but it looks so good.
Yeah, I think it's like a very simplistic palette, but like there's a lot of shading going on and a lot of blending of that shading, which is interesting because like it's always like all blue line art and all blue shading and all graphite line art and graphite shading. And they never like intersect, but they kind of blend together.
Yeah.
In like an unexpected way. I think it's very cool. It's like it's all drawn on like this like really toothy paper, and like you can kind of like the smudginess of it all. Like it kind of reminds me of like having to, do my own thing on like one sketchbook, like a super toothy sketchbook.
Yeah, totally.
But obviously, this is like a little better than I would ever do, especially like, given the circumstances. I had the patience for something like this. It's just so like detailed.
Yeah, and it's also just very clean, but without looking like even the the lines in like the panels they're not perfect, but they're also very exact.
Yeah, it has like I was telling Sloane I was reading it. It has this very like best kid in art class look to me, where it's like it's super detailed and like really beautiful, but also like it's so over the top in like a lot of pages. It's like really detailed. I think it's a cool look.
Yeah. And I love all the textures they get. Like there's a lot of like cracking, like fissured landscapes. I like how they do crystals and like scales and like crystallized horns at one point. Yeah, I just really like Sebastian's like their visual vocabulary is really interesting to me, and also very like nostalgic. I feel like it relies a lot on like kind of like your kind of like foundational rules to like how you would want to draw like anime or like manga, and kind of like sticking to those as like a touchstone, you know, like
Mhm.
clean lines, and like when you're doing clean lines as best as you can get with like pencil, but and then also like shading where it like never touches like the edges
Yeah,
of
yeah,
like gloves or clothing.
yeah,
And I really
totally.
like the kind of like faithfulness to that look.
Yeah. I think like when I was a kid I would like always look at people's fan art, like anime
Mm-hmm.
fan art. And this was like back when like people didn't really do digital art. They were doing like, you know, I don't know, pencil drawings and like
Yeah.
color pencils. And like I would see people do like these like crazy color pencil drawings that were so detailed and like shaded. And I wish I
Mm-hmm.
could find them because it kind of reminds me of this a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like these super like detailed, like, unbelievable color pencil drawings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, this is so interesting. Like, it's so like, I don't know, it's so lush.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I just love that, like, clearly you can tell Sebastian's like a super sophisticated artist, but it's in service to this very particular look that is just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it reminds me of like early 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
like you're saying, like best artist in like middle school.
Yes,
But
totally.
which I think works so good because it's also kind of like a meditation on like, I don't know, like
Identity and like
identity
finding
and like,
yourself.
yeah, and also just like virtual pets. Like I know a lot of people
Oh
made
yeah.
personas based on like their Neopets and stuff.
That was
Um,
something that like for some reason totally like passed me by. Like I did know people that used Neopets, but like
mhm.
there, I don't know, there must have been something like couldn't access the site on like my parents' computer at the time. So it just like I was like, okay, I'm out, like this is not
Yeah.
accessible to me. So it's always so interesting because I feel like so many people I know are like Neopets like enthusiasts, or like they appreciate, the what Neopets did for them. And I'm like, I don't have that. I just have like,
Yes.
you know, I have something missing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where was like your haunt during that time? I feel like
I don't know. I think I was just literally I was looking up like anime series that I was interested in or like read about, and then like that was what I was doing.
I
So I
see.
was just looking at people's like sites and stuff.
I see. Okay, okay.
I wasn't like doing any. I didn't have any community at the time, so it was like,
Right. Yeah,
sorry.
that's really interesting. So you pretty much went straight to like the Yokaki as like kind of artist
Kind
community.
of like I got really into like making websites. I think I talked about that before. And then like after that, I was like, I guess I want to draw. Like I don't really know where
Mhm.
when I started focusing on that. It's very it was very long ago, so I can't remember.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like
Were
I
you a
have
Neopet? Were you like a Neopets person?
I was, yeah. I think I started when I was like, I want to say 10 or 11 is when I started getting into Neopets and joined like guilds, which are like these micro
Mm-hmm.
forums on there. And that's where I learned how to code websites because you could like, customize your pets page.
Right.
And they all had their little home pages. So I had to have a homepage for every pet. And then I was like, this could be. And then I saw people with like furries, like anthros and like anime boys instead
Right.
of
That
pets.
was
And I
when
was like,
they're called anthros. That was
yeah,
like,
anthros,
well,
yeah. And I was like, oh crap, like
people
I don't
still
I
call
just
them
have to have
that.
a Lupe. I can have like a hot like wolf guy. So yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like I think a lot of people learned from, either sites that they would frequent when they were
Mm-hmm.
kids, or like, Neopets, or like I guess later on MySpace and like Zynga and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Zanga. So
You
fun.
know, I feel like a million years old now.
Yeah. um so yeah, back to transparency. I especially like the second half of this poem. I feel like it gets very visceral and becomes like a really beautiful, I don't know, meditation just on like the body and like the chaos of like always wanting to be changing and I don't know, developing yourself and how you can't always do that. Or you can't
Yeah.
always like brute force your way to the place you want to be, whether it's like physical or mental.
Right.
Yeah, I really like the language in the latter half. I mean, I like the entirety of it, but I love like there's a few sections where it's like talking about like the belly. I'm trying to find it right now. Oh yeah, it's just like talking about like dragging the belly through like fire and flame, but it's also like very soft.
Mm-hmm.
it says, yet the belly touches coals into liquid amber. I'm fossilized time again. I just thought that was like a really cute, but also very like visceral word to use. I feel like I don't see that a lot in the belly. Yeah. Like it's a very tender part of us, but it's also, and it's also like the seat of where we hold a lot of our stress. I don't know. I found it very touching that section about like the belly being dragged through like rocks and fire and amber, and yeah, I really liked it.
I really like this. I think it's like a very good rhythm to it. Like each page feels like it has like this perfect amount of information, and I like how it kind of transitions between like almost feeling like a little bit of like a storybook and like kind of like a comic, and like also I don't know, it's just so fun to look at. Like it's like a really interesting way to like talk about yourself, because I feel like this sort of thing, it's hard to talk about, but I think that the way that they talked about their own like, you know, struggle, or like how they felt in different stages, was a really interesting and like cool, you know, peek into their thought process.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and at the end there's a note that this was made during the pandemic last year, which I think also lends to a lot of the trapped and like isolated feelings I get from this. Like that comes through very clearly. But it's also just very like tender and hopeful. And yeah, I really love this. I want to get a print version of this too. I just find it very touching and beautiful, and I also love like the visual symbology of like the crystal, and then as it's transitioning in the end, like this crystal is embedded in all of these like images and scenes, as both like a reflective object, but also as like a prism, and then later it's like shattering and breaking and then kind of fading away as
it's like morphing, and also like, you know, it's showing a lot of different. I think it's a cool, like, I love that it like goes from, I love like the black and the blue together, because I feel like it kind of reflects like what is being said about like, you know, the crystal, or like identity, or what, you know, what it's reflecting, or like how it's showing a person.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love it. It's really good. And yes, Sebastian is also like a really amazing tattoo artist. I don't know if you've seen their tattoo work, but it's also very cool. But yeah, overall, I'm a huge fan, and I really love this comic.
Yeah, check it out.
It's very cool. A link will be down below. Okay, so let's go to our next comic. Let's do Bravo.
Okay.
So this is a no crying, Mr. Sorry. You want to be held for a little bit? Okay. I'm gonna hold him for a little bit so he stops crying. My son, the beloved. So Bravo is an ongoing sci-fi comic by Casey Novak. And I believe they're serializing this on their Patreon. I don't know if you follow them. Are you like familiar with their work at all?
Yeah, I know. I think I've met them once or twice, and I follow them as well.
Sick. Yeah, I really love their work. I'm like a huge fan of their
They have like a really good inking style. Yeah, inking style.
Yeah, I'm like so jealous of how flowy and like
very gestural.
Yeah, that they get their inks, and it's all digital, which is even like doubly impressive.
Yeah, my digital inks leave a lot of. I wish I had a lot more like freedom with digital inks, but.
Yeah, I wish I need to practice more and be more gestural. I feel like when I'm I just get too stiff.
I think in general I get really stiff with inks.
Yeah.
I'm like have like an iron grip on like my whatever I'm using. Just trying to get everything perfect for some reason. I don't know. It's a disease.
It's very easy to get lost in like perfecting the lines, and like connecting them, and like, I don't know. Right now, I'm really obsessed with leaving lines open. Like when they like don't connect, I feel like that's like a sign of like sophistication in comics a lot of the time, and it's something like I almost never do because I'm always like, ooh, but I could just connect these and I can
You're
add
like,
some line weight and like
it's easier to connect it when
yeah,
you color it. Okay.
Yeah. I also am just like one of those people that's like has poor restraint. I feel like when I'm inking and drawing, like I just want to keep adding more. I don't want to leave things. I'm like, oh, I could always hatch a little bit, or I could add a little bit of line weight here, and I could connect it here.
I feel like I have the opposite problem. Like sometimes I'll look back, I'll like go back to like old pages, and I'm like, why is this so like blank? Like it looks like there's nothing on this page. There's like 5 lines on this page.
They're like, there's not enough shape. There's not enough happening here.
There's not enough happening. Like how is anyone gonna be able to tell? Like sometimes like I've gone like pretty crazy, and other times I'm like, do I have to go that crazy? Like my hand hurts.
Yeah, struggles. Real inking
how do you find the middle ground between going too crazy and like just having just enough, you know?
Yeah.
Not going crazy enough.
Yeah, I need to practice like self inking awareness basically, and just like stop when I'm drawing and be like, okay, we don't need to connect everything. Not everything needs to be like shaded. Like we can just let it go. And yeah. But yeah, I really liked this issue of Bravo. This is like the opening introduction to the story. It follows Lord Wharton and their cat Judy. And they wake up in a spaceship where they've been cryogenically frozen or like in stasis. And basically they're just talking to like the AI of the ship and having a bath. It's a really simple story plot wise.
Yeah, they're getting used to like their environment and exploring the ship.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they'll be living on for a good amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like there's a bunch of people. Like their pod is the only one to open, but there's rows and rows. But yeah, I really like this. I feel like Casey is really good at doing, I don't know, when I think of Casey's comics, I always think about like kind of like dialogue between characters and not necessarily like plot per se, though I know like obviously they have like plot and stories that these characters are part of, but I just always find the strongest aspect is like the character acting and yeah, the character acting and just like these like smaller moments between characters, but always against a backdrop of like more expansive world building, but that's never usually the focus.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you think of this like first issue of Bravo?
I thought it looked very cool. Some stuff I was like, I don't know, I'm not really sure about this. Like a little bit of like the character stuff. Like I do enjoy it, but I also kind of, I don't really know. I can't really put my finger on like what is not exactly clicking. But I do think that, you know, it is one of those things where it's like I do want to follow it because I like the way it looks so much. Like, and I don't necessarily know where it's going, but you know, I'm willing to go along with the ride. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Like, was it just that like it didn't have enough going on story-wise, or?
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not totally sure. I think, I don't know. It's very cheeky and like kind of punchy, but I don't really know how I feel about that, if that makes sense.
I see.
Like it's kind of like, what is this? Not necessarily like what is this leading to, but like kind of what does this mean? Like what is this character like actually?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like it's also pretty funny, and also kind of there's a lot of like contemporary jokes, which is different from like I feel like their other comics like Body Seed and like Girl Town, like there's jokes that are kind of like, I don't know, at one point
Twitter.
Yeah, like references
jokes.
to like Twitter and like quote tweets and subtweets and like the Onion
Oh right,
kind
yeah,
of I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Excuse me. And it's strange because it's just kind of like, what is the word? Anachronistic, basically, because this is like a far future setting, and it's kind of like, I don't know if I like those jokes. Like if I don't know if they're worth it enough to like disturb. To like integrate into this like future setting. For me, it was like a bit distracting, and I'm like, wait, okay, how, like, where is this taking place? And I don't know.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. It is like a really, I think the premise itself is really cool. I think the setup is really cool. I like that they're in this weird, like really ornate, kind of like organic, like really lush, gilded ship. Like I feel like that's kind of unusual because it's not really like like the sort of visual language that you see in spaceships often. But yeah, I think a bit of the humor did not quite hit for me, but it is also like the first issue, so it's not exactly like a bad thing.
Yeah, totally. I feel like the set design for this is just like the best part of it. I love it's like brassy and green. It kind of reminds me of like
lots of jewel tones.
Yeah, jewel tones. What is that? I'm trying to think of that, like that metal, it rusts and turns like that nice like ivory green, or like ivy green. Why can I think of the word for that? You know what I'm talking about? It's like when copper, like
when it gets like a tarnish or a patina or something.
Yeah, like a patina. Yeah. Why can't I think of that word of that green? Anyway, I'll think of it.
Antique gold. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I just found like all of it really unique. I like the pod that they pop out of, and their amazing suite that they get to hang out in because they like told the AI that they don't feel well.
Yeah, I also like that they're kind of like, getting a power trip off the AI, like, being like super deferential to them. Like,
and they're also
going
like
insane for like being in a pod or something.
And I'm like, yeah, I can see that.
I guess I can get that.
And I'm also wondering if they're like royalty because they're referred to as Lord Warden. So it's
maybe
also
it's just like a weird AI thing. I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe everyone is like a lord and a lady or something.
Yeah, interesting. What if they're all like? Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious.
Yeah. Yeah, the inking is great in this. I agree. I wish there was a little bit more to this than just this character kind of making jokes and then taking a bath. But I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
And the setting is, I think, the part that drew me in the most. I also love the crazy looking spaceship we get in the first couple panels. It's pretty insane looking.
Oh right. It looks like kind of looks like it has eggs on it or something, like spider.
Yeah. And like really skinny like arms that have like two giant panels. I like how it looks.
Yeah. It's cool. It's a cool looking comic for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. Yeah. Have you read their other comic, Body Seed?
I think I've only read one of their mini comics.
Okay, yeah.
Years ago.
Right. I really like Body Seed too. Yeah. The prologue is on Gumroad, and I really like that. It's about, two fellow soldiers have a late night adventure, and it's like a more classical, it's like sword and sorcery, but with Casey's like unique world building touch on it. And I really like it. I recommend that too. Very cool comic. And then let's see, for our last comic, we're gonna do The Dreaming Chain. So yeah, Dreaming Chain is a series of like 5 short stories and like vignettes that take place in the same fictional world called The Chain. And I believe this was Theo's like
a thesis or something.
Thesis? Yeah. But I've been following them for a while, and I just like really enjoy their style, their visual style.
Yeah.
They're another one kind of like Tate, or I can't really pin down their like inspirations, like their visual inspirations, and I just like really love it. I feel like it's like very unique and surprising how they use texture and the way they draw characters.
Yeah. It's kind of like European a little bit, but also like not to the point where I'm like, oh, this is just like some like BD stuff.
Yeah,
You know?
Totally.
Like it's a good thing for sure.
Yeah, it's not like super stiff in the way a lot of like BD comics are.
Yeah, like super beautiful, but also not like to the point. Like it's not like, it's hard to explain. I feel like we'd have to go more into that world.
Yeah. So yeah, I was really excited to read this. They're also working on a lot of like historical gothic fantasy comics as well, on their Twitter, which is really cool. Their styles I feel like is very suited to that, texturally, and yeah, it's very exciting. But yeah, what did you think about Dreaming Chain?
I really like those. I thought it was a really solid like couple of vignettes and I felt like they fit together pretty nicely. I think I didn't quite know what I was getting myself into like in the first couple of pages and even the first couple of stories. I wasn't really sure what was going on, but then I think like by the end I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go back to the beginning and read it again. One of those things where I was like sometimes you're like, I don't know what's going on, and like I guess by the end you kind of know what's going on, but you don't feel willing to like revisit it. This wasn't one of those. Like I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go back and like, see what I missed.
Yeah, totally.
I think I especially liked the second story, the Sacrament. I thought that was kind of like really lovely, and I love like the way it looks, like just like all the black shading and like really minimal color. I thought that was really effective.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a really unique way of blending like their traditional, the traditional aspect of their drawings with digital.
Yeah, it's like airbrushy and like smudgy and really pretty.
Wait, stop. Sorry. It's super like complimentary, and it's also like I feel like not the instinctual way you would want to use it. Like sometimes, like in the first, let's see what page is this? Like the third page of the Sacrament, there's this like bonfire that they're all around, and it's kind of like this weird overlaid kind of like airbrushed shape.
Oh yeah.
It's clearly digital, but for some reason I find that really appealing, countered against this like beautifully rendered scene of all these people dancing.
I really love like the shapes that they use for like their paneling, because it's quite like free and loose way to panel, but
yeah,
it's just so pretty. Like it's like a really, like I don't know how to do this sort of thing. Like I'm always like, oh, I guess I could be a little bit more creative and like better with space. I never do that, so it's like other people do it really well. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, it looks so it has like a good sense of like scale and everything.
Yeah, and it also and it also feels like very effortless in a way, and natural, totally. And
it almost just feels like it just exists. Like they're kind of just like this.
Yeah.
To the paper and like maybe erase some parts and like shape some parts darker. It's like, oh yeah, can't relate.
Yeah, it's extremely sophisticated.
Yeah, and I love like the couple of pages where like I guess like the main character is like catching a falling star. Like those pages are super pretty.
Oh my gosh,
just, like beautiful, like kind of I don't know, like what is that? Like phthalo blue.
Yeah.
It's just this really pretty, like bright blue. It's kind of dark and like this like gorgeous orange. Like I don't know. I just love orange and blue. Like it's like the most basic complementary color combination. It's so pretty when it's done right.
Totally.
It's kind of like turquoisey and purple and like all the really lush, pretty colors. Great textures.
And it looks, and that scene in particular with the falling star and catching it, it almost kind of looks like not watercolor, but maybe like airbrush or like what is the word? Like alcohol ink. I don't know if you've seen like the effect that it has. It's something between like bleeding marker
like watercolory,
and watercolor. Yeah. Yeah, I
Love
really
it.
love it. And the characters are like just so cute. I love.
They're really cute, and I think they're good shapes, like
Oh yeah, great
and
shapes.
very tender. Like they have very tender faces,
Yeah.
and I like their like cute little like kind of like animal noses.
Yeah, the little like pebbly noses. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah. I think it's a really cool mix of like kind of naive but really sophisticated.
Yeah. Yeah, can you think of like stylistic comparisons to like how Theo draws? Like I feel like I'm like pretty hard pressed to think of something that's similar like off the top of my head. Like it just feels really unique. Like I love how like wide set the eyes are, kind of like it's almost like kind of like Aya Takano-ish in
Yeah.
that way.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can see that.
Um
Um, I don't know. I feel like a kind of a lot of illustrators try to do this, and a lot of time it's like really successful. I can't really think of them off the top of my head because I don't think there's
hmm.
anyone that's like really super like this
Yeah,
in this exact way.
right.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's very unique. I find myself always
Aya
just like
Takano is a good comparison though. Um I love her use of like color and like naive shapes
mhm,
almost.
right. And yeah, and like traditional media, I feel like she's really also is really great at like incorporating like
Different types of like
textures and
textures and
watercolor.
like
Yeah.
paint and color and just I need to do
Without
more stuff. I feel like I'm seeing like things like this. I'm like, I need to try more. Like I feel like I'm so like,
yeah.
set in my way. I'm really lazy. Like I'll stick with what I know.
Yeah. Yeah, all of these
To my own
comics make me want to
detriment.
try more.
Yeah, I'm like, I guess I could try. Like, I don't know what's holding me back. It's not like I'm like what's stopping me from like messing up, you know?
Yeah.
I take my own advice.
I think it's also like I think because we're like long haul cartoonists, we kind of have like our
We're kind of stuck in
toolbox
our
that,
ways.
yeah, we don't always have time to like be as inventive as a lot of these comics are, especially Theo, I feel like is a great example of just like what you can do. Not that that's
Yeah,
like an
like I feel like
excuse, but I feel like when you're doing comics like daily for years, you're kind of just going to end up relying on certain tools.
yeah, I think you get like you're doing them all the time and you kind of know that they work. It's hard to get out of that mentality, but I do
Mm-hmm.
need to try more. I would love
Right.
to try more.
Would love to try. Yeah, so this next story is The Legend of the Crimson Witch. And it's just like full of like these gorgeous illustrations.
Lots of type playing with type
Hmm.
and kind of like this like Gaussian blur like look to like all the drawings.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
cool.
And just like, yeah, a lot of like layering
And
and
transparency and like
yeah.
it's almost like they're like on vellum paper or something.
That's what I was just gonna
And they're
say. It
all
looks like
stacked on top of each
vellum
other.
layered. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Um, yeah, I think we had a hard time reading this, but I think we talked about it. And we're also thinking that it's kind of, supposed to be like very,
Purposeful.
yeah, it's kind of like a psychedelic dreamscape that we're in, sort of. So I feel like it's not too important to be like, oh, what exactly does this say? But yeah,
Yeah,
which is
she's
totally
just
fine.
the Crimson Witch is just cursing us. So,
Yeah.
we're not meant to understand like why or
Yes.
how.
Yeah. Um, let's see. And then we have like the third comic, Where the Hound Led You, which I wasn't
Oh
crazy
yeah.
about. This is where we get a kind of like, I think it's fully digital. Um,
Right.
and
It's
it's
a little bit more
interesting.
like Procreate-ish.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I wasn't super into this section, though I do find it interesting how Theo is trying to incorporate that sort of like traditional blending of color digitally, but I don't think it's as successful as the other comics. But it is kind of
Yeah.
funny. There are some funny parts in this.
I think I did like some pages. Like there's a page where there's a candle turning into a flower. I think it's one of the more successful ones to me, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do think that especially compared to their other work, um, it's like it definitely feels not like as appealing, but I did still really enjoy reading the story.
Hmm.
So I think it just didn't bother me as much.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's still really cute. I also really like the
And I like the black and white pages a lot too.
yeah. I
Or
like
like
the
waking up in a
page.
dollhouse.
Oh yeah. I like the page where it's like this sun-faced person and they're holding like a match.
Oh yeah.
When they're saying like, I don't know, I'm an agnost. I really love this
Yeah.
this page a lot. I think it's actually a really nice blend of like there's
Oh
like a
yeah.
scanned texture and then we have, the digital painting and some line work, and I think it's actually really appealing.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I feel like this little story um definitely is in contrast with like the other stories, but also kind of adds this like grounding element to like the rest of them in a way.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah. There's also like I like that's the let's see, there's three like black and white drawings towards the end of this section
Hmm.
that I really like, but I like the one where she's in bed. And I don't know, I just love this whole drawing of the room. I love the like really tall skinny vase
Yeah.
and like her little like side table with like also another vase and like a teacup. And I really like how her hand is kind of like blending into like her knee, like her or like her wrist.
Oh yeah.
Stuff like that is just like really cute to me and like visually appealing, and like how the bed meets the floor but there's no like harsh line to like delineate it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like it.
little touches like that really make drawings for me.
Yeah, I also really like kind of how they like draw things like coming like within perspective, but they're not like shaded at all. So they're kind of just like outlines. I think that's
Hmm.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's so smart. um let's see, and then we have A Wish, which is I believe the fourth story. This is another one that's like,
No, isn't the fifth story?
is this the fifth story? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this one. This is also, I think, digital. um I also like how we're getting like another kind of visual approach here. I feel like it's a bit different from the previous one.
Yeah.
There's a lot more extensive rendering in this
Kind of reminds me
in
of
these
like a
pages.
Okaki, like
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
alternative shading, but like in a way that's like really effective. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Like it adds like this like kind of fun like texture to all the characters.
Yeah, it's like Okaki impressionism kind of.
Yeah. Love it.
Yes. I also like how they do word bubbles.
Mm.
They're always kind of
Straight from the
like,
mouth.
yeah, straight from the mouth, and also like they're kind of like long and like what am I not they're not ovoid, but they're always like really long and snake-like.
Like trailing. Yeah.
I really like that.
And I like that like like that sort of line where it's like you go over it like a billion times. It's kind of like not shaky, but like it's like fuzzy. Like
Yeah.
that look.
It's like a little bit itchy, like around the
Yeah, where you're
edges.
like, I want to make like a perfect circle, but you're like
Yeah.
obviously not. You're like, it's like really feathery. Yeah, just
Yeah.
tells me.
Yeah, this I really like the art in this one. I also like how this, what is this creature? This pink creature.
But yeah, with the I like her. I like the hands, the boobs,
Yeah, the hands and the boobs and just like their little
its
like
face.
expressions.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like really joyful, like kind of like
It's
joyful,
like
like whimsical, like kind of
they look
floating
really
away.
high. Yeah.
Yeah,
They look so high. I mean, I guess they are because they have like a psychedelic magic frog inside them.
I love it. I don't know. It's so like I was like I don't know what's going on, but I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those things.
It's yeah, this character is like so
Like a
silly.
like a swamp character, swamp
Yes.
being.
Yeah, and trying to like, I don't know, it's kind of like seductive
And I
too.
like the person reacting to like,
They're
no, I
like,
don't want to try the frog.
yeah,
Don't
they're like,
know.
I'm absolutely fine.
Like, yeah, please don't do that. Okay.
Yeah, the art in this is so good. It's so fun. I love that explosive, like flowery
Yeah, it's so pretty.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Oh, now what I'm thinking about is like it reminds me of like Jar. Do you remember Jar? It's like that like Pixiv like
Oh yeah,
marketing
okay.
program. Like when people like do like really crazy like blending and shading and like transitional colors with like just different types of transparencies and different colors, so you get this cool like opal-ish effect.
Yeah, totally.
Your art. It's so pretty. I love the way it looks.
And yeah, so this last story kind of transitions into the ending,
the first one.
which like brings us back to the opening of the story where we're offered to be told a story. And yeah, we have this like hot storyteller, and she's just like, I want to hear a story.
Yeah, it's very like 1001 Nights.
Yes, very cheeky, very like cute. Yeah, I really love this. This was like really inspiring to read through. I'm like, damn, I need to like turn my brain on.
Or more like it's like almost kind of like it's a bit of both. It's like you have to turn your brain off a little bit because you're like too stuck in your habits, and then
yeah, true.
Also like on because you want to like think about what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so cool. Good. I know. I want to do more paneling. That's like in the sacrament. Yeah, like the sacrament. Like I just love it just feels so like instinctual to panel that way. Just like placing images together. Right. Without worrying about like adding like panels and borders. Like I don't know. It's just so good.
Yeah, I love that they give themselves like kind of room to do that sort of thing too, because I feel like a lot of the time like I don't know. Looking at old comics, I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. Like, what is going on with the paneling? But it's almost kind of along the same vein where it's like you're just doing it because it feels right. Maybe it doesn't necessarily read correctly, but it's also kind of like a cool practice to try, especially if you're like so stuck in like, oh, I need to make this really readable and like, you know, have a lot of clarity, which is also good, but you know, it's a school of thought kind of.
Yeah, totally. It also just makes you want to approach coloring differently and maybe rely on texture a bit more and layers rather than trying to shade stuff like traditionally how you would, you know, with like a drop shadow and a reflective shadow and like I don't know. I'm just really bored with that right now and I don't know how to break out of it. So this was like really refreshing too.
Yeah, and I love how like sketchy they let their pages stay.
Yeah.
Like it's really appealing. And I think there's a reason why people really love sketches anyway. I think it's fun to see that.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much just like life in those lines.
Yeah, it's really gestural.
Yeah. So good.
So basically Sloane and I are thinking that we have to like
we just need to overhaul our entire art
fix
process. Yeah.
We need to fix our brains so they start working again and we can start doing things that are fun.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's fun to look at.
Yeah. We've let ourselves become stale and jaded. We need to fix that.
I'm sick of trying.
Yeah. I want to try again. I want to be in love again. But yeah, this was really, really fun. I'm like super inspired by all these mini comics. Thank you to all the artists for drawing them. I bought a bunch more, so hopefully we'll do some more mini comic reviews soon. But yeah, Leslie, do you have anything to plug or would you like to sign us out?
I do not have anything to plug, but you can find me, Leslie, at Leslie Hung on Twitter and at Dairy Free on Instagram. You can also tweet us at Salt and Honey Pod on Twitter.
Sweet. And I'm Sloane on Twitter and sloanesloane.com and Sloanely on Instagram. And I have a thing to plug, which is like I had a Kickstarter last month that funded. So now I'm putting together a horror anthology and we're looking for illustrators to draw for short fiction stories. So if you're an artist and you want to submit your portfolio, you can go to deathinthemouth.com, which is the title of the anthology, and send us your art, and then we'll see if you're a good fit for a story.
Yay, congratulations on getting your
Thank
Kickstarter
you.
funded.
Thank you. That was so stressful.
Yeah.
but I'm glad, I'm glad it funded.
Like, I'm
But
glad it's over. Just kidding.
people
it's
who do
starting.
that, people just who do Kickstarters like every year, like I don't know how they do it or how they handle. I feel like I am gonna need several years to just like process, like not process, but like I don't know. It's just hard to like babysit something every day and make sure that it's like steadily growing. And yeah, it was crazy. Anyway,
You're gonna do another one like in a year. You're like, whatever.
yeah, probably. Another person already approached me to do like a hard science fiction anthology.
You're like, I'm already addicted.
I'm like, okay.
Addicted to crowdfunding.
I know. I'm like, oh, this is, you can just like make stuff and people will help make it happen. Wow.
Okay.
Like, sounds good. But yeah, next week, hopefully we can do some more mini comic reviews. I'm really excited. I like the ones that I got. So yeah.
Check out all the mini comics and all the artists that made them. They're all great artists.
Yes.
And have really cool visions.
Yes, totally. All right. Well, we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Yay.